Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 287. Your weekly little get-together, we talk about recent gaming news. As always, our host, David Brandon, joining me today is...
I'm David.
Tonight, David, we have some Chrono remastering rumors we got to go over. Dragon Age 4 seems to have yet even more problems with its development, and Kojima is finally stepping his toe into television, which is something he's been seemingly wanting to do for a very, very long time. But first...
Definitely.
I want everyone here to know this is an audience interactive podcast, so if you're watching here live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at twitch.tv/GamePoints, or later over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC, feel free to join in the conversation. With any questions, comments, concerns, etc. you might have, just try to keep them germane to the topics on hand. David, it has been a couple weeks since we have done this show because last week it was Thanksgiving, and honestly, I did not feel like going over nothing because news in this industry stops for like a week.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Whole lot of nothing going on
Right.
besides the stuff that was ongoing that we will still get into a little bit.
We'll touch
today.
up on it a little bit as we go on. And there was like one thing that came out we'll be talking about over the week, but for the most part, it was a pretty dead week, so there's no point in rambling about nothing. That said, we will have our typical only kind of newsy shows in the next couple weeks. We'll have our Game Awards predictions for what trailers might be showed. We don't care about the awards, but we do care about what information might drop. We'll have our best and worst of the year moments, etc., and all that good stuff, and we'll compare them up to our predictions from last year to this year to see if we actually got any of them right or not.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how that shakes out. So that will be the next few weeks, give or take a week or two of Game Points shows for certain. David?
Yes.
Have you been up to anything entertaining over this past week when it comes to gameplay? Because I finally started playing something, but I'll let you go first.
You finally started playing something?
Yeah,
I've just
yeah.
been playing
It's
a
been in
lot
my
of the
Steam
usuals.
library for a couple weeks now, and I finally cracked it open. But go on.
I've been all over the place, honestly, with the holidays. So I was playing a bunch of Vita, as you do. And, dude, I've been playing Halo. I've been playing, I don't know, what else do I play? Everything. Say any video game. I played Forza. I played. It was a holiday, right? So I had free time, and I was playing BattleTech. I played some MechWarrior 5.
You finally caught up on a lot of your backlog.
Yeah, well, I didn't actually catch up on anything. I played like 3 hours of every single video game that sounded fun over the last year.
So what I
I don't
finally...
think I've made any substantial progress on any one video game, but I played a lot of video games.
Well, that's good. At least you have an idea of what's out there now. I finally cracked into that Guardians of the Galaxy game over the past couple of days.
Oh, yeah?
And it is way better than it has any business being. With a
How is the writing
legendary
treating
soundtrack.
you?
What was that?
How is the writing treating you?
It's all right.
Because I've heard kind of mixed opinions on the writing. Some people seem to really enjoy it. Some people think there's a little too much of it.
No,
So
I've got no
curious.
problem with the dialogue in that. It is very wordy, for sure. It is a wordy ass game. They don't shut up, but that is like in theme with who they are.
Part of the charm.
Yeah,
Part of who
that's
you're
part
getting.
of what we get. I also like that it is different enough from the Marvel shit.
Yeah, they didn't walk that Avengers Uncanny Valley line.
Yeah, but the soundtrack is legendary. Do not stream it. You'll get just copyrighted right into oblivion.
Makes sense.
But what's kind of weird is, and slight spoilers for the very opening scene of the game, so not necessarily spoilers, but you start off in Peter Quill's like bedroom as a kid, and it's the early 80s. And he has like toys and posters on the wall and everything like that. But one thing that really threw me off and kind of it didn't necessarily set the right tone because it felt Uncanny Valley is a good word for it, was looking around his room. And you'll see like a poster for War Games, but it's not called War Games. It's called like Military Games or something like that.
Legally distinct War Games poster.
Yeah. But then you'll also see like a figure of Chewbacca or a movie picture of Tron. Like the actual
Disney
Chewbacca
owns.
Tron, because they're things Disney owns. So when you have this clash of shit that is clearly ripping off something but isn't real, and then stuff that is real, the thing I just immediately start seeing is Disney owns this. And that kind of pulls you out.
It's the same thing that happened to Ready Player One, because that like book references everything from the 80s. That movie basically references everything that Steven Spielberg ever did.
Yeah. It very much is that similar kind of like there's something wrong and disjointing about that.
It's not quite hitting the the time period.
Right.
Because
They
it's
should have either
very,
gone
very
completely one
specified.
way or completely the other, but
Yeah,
not
either
this in
fake
between the
everything
two.
or pay
Yeah.
the money.
So that does start off with a very weird taste in my mouth, but that's such a minor part of the game itself. But that's been the only big quibble I have about it. But yeah, that Guardians of the Galaxy game, way better than it has any right to be.
Cool.
I do.
That's
If
fine.
you're looking for something, maybe not you, since you have a massive slate of games they go through, but if you out there are looking for something and you are like just craving an adventure game, I would take a look at that. David,
There you go.
before we get
yes.
into the news, you did mention you played a lot of shit,
Yes.
which
Yes,
is it's that time of the year, right? A whole bunch of stuff is coming out. But more than any other year, and I kind of wanted to get this off the chest, more than any other year, it seems even the big titles are just letting everyone down.
Look, because every single game is early access.
Yes. And I think that's a big part
It's
of it.
something that we've been talking about for a while, and then it's been slowly building as like release dates of video games have gotten progressively worse.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you happen to be a person that lives your life offline, like if you don't have internet or you're somewhere where you have to have like satellite or something, and you go buy a video game for $70 from the store to play on your new Xbox or PlayStation or whatever, you are playing an unfinished, broken video game.
Yes.
9 times out of 10.
I'm glad
Because-
you're picking up on this because I had just the initials of some games written down as like a list I wanted to go through, and I think you realized what the common thread between all of this was.
Yeah, these are games that we are all beta testing, even though you paid full price for them. And this is across the board. You wrote down Halo, you wrote Call of Duty, you wrote Battlefield. Every single one of those games is in early access. None of those games deserve full price.
No.
Halo is a funny exception because that is a free-to-play video game. That being said, you can spend money on it, and you can spend a lot of money on it. So fuck that game also. When
And
we're
its
talking
its
about
progression
current
pass,
release date.
its progression battle pass system specifically is especially heinous.
It's a joke.
But you mentioned Call of Duty as well. Call of Duty this year is like one of the weakest Call of Duty entries we've seen in a long time. It's still going to be one of the best-selling games this year. I'm loath to call it a flop, but there's something missing about it. Battlefield 2042 is a fucking joke. Like, I was excited about it when you were telling me about it a couple weeks ago, and I finally got my hands on it, and I was like, wow, I could see why people are pissed between just glitches and problems.
When the game
and
works,
riddled
it's
with
super
errors.
fun. But like I said, I don't want to actually play that game for like 6 months.
Yeah,
Like
same
I
here.
enjoyed playing that free quote unquote demo for 10 hours or whatever it was, but that's because I didn't pay for it. So I kind of got my time and I could wait.
And even the mainstay, Grand Theft Auto, they had those remasters of 3,
Huge joke.
Vice City, and 4 come out, and
That,
it's
I think is the
fucking
most
ridiculous.
egregious because I can go back and play the old Battlefield. I can go back and play the old Call of Duty. I can go back and play old Halos. I cannot go buy the old versions of the GTA video games because
Now,
they
I
were pulled off of the store.
do
In
believe
fact,
they
also
put them back
sued-
on.
They sued a bunch of the modders that had made those games more playable for current systems. So they pissed off the fan base, they pissed off the modding community, and then they just screwed over fans of people that actually wanted to buy their video games. Once again, the only people that wins are people that steal the video game. Like, they're not giving a whole lot of reason to pay full price for this shit when it's so broken, and you could just go find a downloaded version of the older release and find the old mods and have a better gameplay experience. Like, that is a ridiculous statement.
Yeah,
But it's true.
Egregious what happened. And these aren't like small, every single one of these is a flagship for the respective company.
Every single one of these is a title from a billion-dollar entity.
And they have all had some the best one, the performing of them all is fucking Call of Duty, whose only sin is it's just the same goddamn thing we've seen over and over again.
Well, I mean, it's the Sledgehammer one. I don't know why anyone is surprised. We know this. They're on a 3-year cycle.
This
Next year's game will be more exciting.
next year's
after
game is
that will
probably
be
going to be
okay.
Modern Warfare 2 as well. From all reporting is that it's going to be the Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, because it's
reboot.
Infinity Ward. Is
Yeah.
this seriously news or
No.
surprising to anyone on Earth? They've been doing the same thing for like a decade. Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer. Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer. Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer. Every third game isn't the best.
This
Like,
has
it's not complicated.
this has been one of the most bland seasons of I've seen ever during a holiday rush, and it has all your big mainstays. I'm just shocked how mediocre a
Also,
lot of these efforts have been.
not really in your lexicon or wheelhouse, but Forza Horizon 5, also a broken game.
Is it really?
It is statistically worse than the fourth one. The reason why that game is doing numbers is because it's on Game Pass. And it's easy to pick up, and it's a fun video game, but it is, in all honesty, a expansion to the fourth game that takes away features. Like,
This is
playing
games
with
out,
convoys, playing with friends is broken. The arcade, which replaced the Forzathon. So there used to be a once-an-hour in-game, in-world event that all the drivers on your server would get this notification that there's a big event going. Everyone would drive there. It'd be this whole big party. Those things are now like a every 10-minute event that no one pays attention to because it doesn't work.
It would be easy and somewhat apt. I will give them a little bit of slack to blame all of this on the fact that COVID really fucked up the games industry over the past 18 months.
Except for games were doing this 2 years ago.
Exactly. They have already been trending to this point.
Yeah, I will give you this, but fucking Anthem came out a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
You can't blame that on a pandemic.
No. And it has been a splash of cold water in the face where I was thinking, okay, we're going to have some big hits come out, and every single one of them has been at best mediocre. Now, we have the Halo campaign. I'm actually looking forward to that Halo campaign. I have heard good things about it, and I play Halo games for the campaigns. I've been making my way through the Halo games again recently. I just polished off 1 and 2, finished off Halo Wars 1 and 2. I'm going to start working on the third one here in a bit. I think I probably finished them all up before next week because they're relatively quick. But after that, that's like the last big AAA release this year. And if that comes and goes, and it's like just a thud, man, is 2021 going to be considered one of the absolute dullest years in gaming. And this is going to really make itself apparent when we talk about our best moments of 2021.
I was going to say, how's that shiny new console treating you? Getting a lot of mileage out of that? Playing a lot of new video games?
I'm playing a lot of older video games on it. Exactly. Yeah. I've actually played some good stuff, but not from your bigger, like Tales of Arise, for example. I finished up Tales of Arise, Bandai Namco, JRPG, part of the Tales games. I put 60 hours into that goddamn thing. I had a blast with it. It's one of my favorite games this year, but the thing is, if it was any other year, it wouldn't even make the top 10.
Yeah. We're just at the point where AAA video games don't need to exist in the state that they do currently. It's really offensive the way they're coming out. Like the C, B, low A tier games all released at a better state.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really understand why it's so difficult for these companies that have millions upon billions of dollars to just, I don't know, pay people enough to actually make a video game or schedule the right amount of time to make a video game. You've been doing it for a long time. This shouldn't be that fucking complicated.
Every one of the major players is either doing one of two things. They're shipping out major releases riddled with bugs with the ship it now, patch it later mentality, or they're going back and remastering and remaking their old franchises.
Yep.
Which brings us to our very first story of the night via IGN.
Let's go.
A Chrono Cross Remastered is reportedly on the way via IGN. According to Xbox Era's Nick Baker on a recent podcast, the reported big remake mentioned by folk singer Ebaha McMahon, forgive me, it's an Irish name, on an Irish radio station in October is indeed a remaster of the sequel spinoff to Chrono Trigger from the original PlayStation era. And what's more, Baker sources tell him it will be a multi-platform release as opposed to a PlayStation exclusive. Notably, a Chrono Cross remaster was also among the numerous titles listed in NVIDIA GeForce Now Game Link back in September. Though that list has thus been hit or missed as to accuracy, and NVIDIA has claimed the titles were speculative, some of the games in that leak turned out to be real, like the GTA Trilogy Remaster. David, what is your first thought on this news?
Why isn't it Chrono Trigger?
I have an idea as why it's not. I think Square, I am of two minds on this. One, Chrono Trigger still looks good today.
Yes, of course.
Because it's a 16-bit Super Nintendo game. Chrono Cross being a PlayStation 1 game, very rough to go back to. So of the two that need more a remaster, Chrono Cross is the one that needs a remaster.
That's fair.
2, I think Square might be afraid to fuck that up.
That is also a good point, because that game is beloved, and if they released it in the state of, I don't know, any remaster that we've seen in the last like 6 to 8 months, they released it like that, I don't think that would turn out well for them.
One thing
that being said, a Chrono Cross remaster just in general is something that I think is cool, right? That's a good video game.
I can get
like
behind
that video game. But it's just, I don't know, dude. At this point, I could just write down a list of like 40 old video games and just put on a blindfold and throw a dart. And if you told me they were releasing it in the next 6 months, it wouldn't surprise me.
Right. Going back to the old well again, because they can crank these out cheap, which brings me up to something I do want to bring up. I have seen a lot of people on Twitter kind of thinking, oh my God, we're going to get like a high budget remastering of Chrono Cross, and it's going to be like $5, no.
They're going to spend no money on this game. They're going to use AI to upscale it, and that's what you're going to get.
Think very smaller scale. Think more of the lines of like the pixel remasters they recently did to Final Fantasy rather than Final Fantasy VII Remake. Hey there, Junesy, how you doing?
Think of like the 7, 8, 9 remakes besides like the fancy 7 remake. I mean the ones that came out on phones that literally got AI upscaled so that the textures look smoother. Yes, they did some new like character portraits and some art for some of the games, and they changed the font for whatever reason on a bunch of them, but that's more what you're going to get. Human isn't going to go through and labor of love this to make it look amazing.
Right. That's kind of the boat that I'm on, is that while I'm wanting this to be good, it's going to be kind of second rate. I won't say necessarily even second rate, but it's not going to be what you think. It's just going to be a little bit of a cleaning up. Junesy in chat says they heard about the remaster before they heard about the game, before the original game. That just shows how young you are. If you've never heard of Chrono Cross, you are dating yourself more than I am dating myself.
No, I think the younger person would win the argument, right?
By the way, I do expect this to be announced very, very soon. Maybe even before the Game Awards. I'm hearing something like this weekend, possibly.
We will see.
But this is not going to be what people want it to be.
That means 0% chance I would buy this on release date.
Yeah. The only thing I can promise you right now is that people are going to be disappointed in what they're going to get.
But maybe it'll be a good stepping off point so that modders can come in and fix the game.
I will say,
I hope for.
Yeah, I will say this. It is going to be really the only way you actively can play it in a modern fashion, from what I can tell, because you can play the older Final Fantasies. You can still play older Chrono Trigger. Those are on Steam. It's the shitty phone port of it. But really, the only way that I know of to play Chrono Cross is to bust out a PlayStation 1 and load it up that way. I don't even think it's on PlayStation now. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think it is.
I wonder if it's on the Vita store. I haven't looked for it.
Everything's on the Vita store if you look hard enough.
Fair enough.
I got one more story here for you, Dave, before I turn the show over to you, and this is via PC Gamer. Dragon Age senior creative director leaves BioWare because what else can fucking go wrong with BioWare at this point, and specifically the development of this game? Matt Goldman, creative director of Dragon Age 4, has left BioWare after 23 years.
Damn.
BioWare boss Gary McKay announced Goldman's departure in an email sent out to staff, which read the following. Hi, everyone. I hope you are well. I'm writing to inform you that Matt Goldman is leaving BioWare. We have mutually agreed to part ways, and his last day is today. We understand that Mike's departure has an impact on you as well as the game's development. Rest assured, our commitment to a high-quality Dragon Age game has not wavered, and we will not ship a game that is not up to BioWare standards. Pause in the quote. BioWare standards have been exceedingly lacking since... Dragon Age 3, so 10 years ago, so that does not necessarily fill me up with confidence. Back to the quote. We included EA's executive team and have absolute confidence in the leadership here at the studio and the people working on this game to carry forth our vision. End quote. Leave it to chat to make me feel old when they're saying that man's been working there longer than he's been alive. So thank you very much for that. David, when you read that, what do you hear?
He is probably going to break off and make an indie studio, or he's approached by one of the other former, fancy game devs that has already made an indie studio, or he's just sick of being there.
Okay, so you didn't hear what I heard. By the way, BioWare has not given any official reason for his departure. This man was at BioWare...
You think this is a bad terms thing? 23 years later?
This man was at BioWare for 23 years.
Okay.
Suddenly on Monday, just an email goes out saying, hey, Goldman's gone. He didn't say, "Hey, I'm leaving. Here are my last 2 weeks." They didn't do the whole "we wish him the very best" and whatever he moves to, or anything like that.
To be fair, a corporation doesn't necessarily need to release when someone put in their 2-week notice.
Correct.
And a lot of times, if you're just an employer at the organization, you won't necessarily know that they're leaving. Like, unless you're a direct report, those people probably had an idea that he was leaving already. So I doubt it was a surprise to everyone at BioWare that he was leaving. And it was more, hey, for those that don't know, this is Goldman's last day.
But this is they didn't. This is all they said on it. Typically, when someone has left BioWare in the past, they say, "Hey, this is their list of accomplishments. We wish them the very best in what they're going on to. We wish them the best in whatever they move on to. They have a long storied history." Here is just like, yeah, this guy left. Effective today, we have mutually decided to part ways. To me, this does not. I'm not suggesting anything untoward, by the way. I'm not suggesting any Activision shit or anything going on here. What I'm seeing here is two people did not like each other. I'm just reading into it, but this reads to me as someone, as a statement from a company who essentially fired Goldman.
See, this reads to me as someone who's downplaying the severity of the situation so that it still looks good to investors. Hey, everybody, we are losing an employee, but don't worry, we still believe in our team and have faith in our products.
But if you were doing that and it was an amicable situation, you would say, hey, Goldman is going to be leaving us after this long, but don't worry, he has put a talented team in place to ensure that its legacy is continued, and they would have given some things.
I get what you're saying, and we could probably go back and forth on this for like an hour. Yeah, maybe it was bad. Maybe it wasn't bad. Here's the thing. We will never know. We can speculate forever, but they're never going to give a shit unless this dude decides to go do a tell-all to, one of the gaming publications somewhere.
Now, the reason why I want to bring all of this up is because, as we started and I've alluded to already the show, Dragon Age 4's development has been a nightmare. From getting completely retooled after Anthem flopped, because remember, Dragon Age 4 is supposed to be a live service game, and then Anthem fucking went up like a hot fart, and they abandoned that idea.
Single-player video game, because that was a bad idea.
And then everyone's been bouncing ship off of BioWare over the past few years from BioWare burnout, where people would go on just month vacations and go, you know what, I'm not coming back.
Yep.
So there is a massive talent drain at BioWare. Morale has to be exceedingly low. And you have EA cracking the whip going, you need to fucking produce a hit.
Yeah, because if like you've mentioned before, if Dragon Age 4 doesn't do well, BioWare might not be... They might get the EA treatment. Might be left out in the woods.
They might get EA'd.
Yeah.
And to have someone who was with BioWare since 1998, worked on Baldur's Gate. That's how long they were there. Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, the entirety of the Dragon Age
the number
series.
Behind it, just Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
No other words or numbers. Okay, yeah.
And he took over as the creative lead on Dragon Age 4 a couple years ago, 2017, which means he is the head creative person behind Dragon Age 4. He's the story brain.
Wow. He's been in charge of this game for 4 years and can't even see it through. That's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah, and they let him go. If I'm reading to this, it sounds like EA fired his ass. That's what I read from this.
Or he got burnt out.
Yeah,
we don't know.
I don't see it as him doing something like sexually harassing someone or anything like that. I think this is EA going, we have given you 4 years, you have given us shit. You're gone.
Which is funny, because it's most likely EA's fault anyway, because of just horrible management
practices. I mean, we've gone into that before multiple times, but that's just what this seems like, is yet another... how many more warning signs do we need that BioWare is a sinking ship? And it's got to be a bitch to get people to work here now at this point, because it's not like people are... It's like Blizzard now. People aren't no longer going to show up to your company because you're Blizzard or you're BioWare to work for you.
They're not excited. People aren't going to be super excited to get that job.
Yeah, your name no longer carries the cachet it once had, because Blizzard notoriously underpaid its staff because they would say, yeah, but we work for Blizzard. Mm-hmm. It was like a crown jewel that you put on there. You took the shit pay for the name recognition. You don't get that now. Same with BioWare. You have to pay like top of the creme, the top of the top to draw that talent in there, because people are going to go, oh, you're fucking BioWare? I know how you treat your employees. Fuck off.
Yeah. But chances are EA is not really giving them the funding to do that anyway, which is why they've been mostly just bleeding talent. We haven't talked about anybody big getting hired at BioWare in a while.
They've brought back a few older people. In fact, I think Goldman himself was someone who kind of like quasi left BioWare and came back to work on Dragon Age 4.
Yeah.
I think he left like after 3 for a little bit. I'm not positive. I have to look into that. But that's what we've been having is people who worked at BioWare coming back, and that seems to be more out of brand loyalty than anything else.
Yeah,
and I get it.
That's what I mean. Like they're not actually grabbing people like big names from other companies. They're just kind of bringing back some of the big names that they had before.
Yeah. I think the writing on the wall is... I think the writing is on the wall for BioWare. And I think at this point, regardless of Dragon Age 4 is a success or not, I think the studio is done.
I just think it sucks, man. I want Dragon Age 4 to be good.
I do too. And Dragon Age 4 could be good. I have a hard time believing it's not going to be at least good, if not great, but...
Too bad it's going to be an early access game when it does finally release.
Yeah,
because,
based on that stuff.
That's what we get these days.
David, why don't you go ahead and lead us off here on the next topic? This is more in your wheelhouse than mine.
This is a fun one. This, I think, is the least surprising news. I guess the surprising part is it took so long for this announcement. In a story from GamesIndustry.biz, Kojima Productions launches a new film, TV, and music division. Death Stranding developer Kojima Productions has launched a new division dedicated to music, TV, and film based in Los Angeles, California. The new division is designed to take the game studio's games to other pop culture areas. The new team will be led by Riley Russell, who joins the company after a nearly 28-year stint at PlayStation in various roles, including Chief Legal Officer and VP of Business Affairs. 28 years of PlayStation. That beats Goldman's measly 23 at BioWare. That's nonsense.
Also important to mention, this is yet another connection between Sony and Kojima Productions.
Yes.
We've been talking about how the rumors are that Sony might be massaging relationships with Kojima through previous employers. Just yet another link between that.
Yep. But if you've ever played a Hideo Kojima video game, you probably wouldn't be surprised that dude has wanted to make films for a really long time. And if you follow that guy on Twitter at all, he's constantly talking about new music, TV shows, and movies that he's been watching. That's really kind of like where his heart is, even though he makes these crazy obscure is the wrong word, maybe obtuse video games.
He talks he makes video games for a living, but he does not talk at all about them. It's always like old cinema, or I discovered this weird art house band or something like that.
Yeah, it's great. And Kojima games, you love them or you hate them. I fall truly deeply into the love them category.
Yeah, same here.
And so I'll show up. I don't know what they're gonna do.
I'm not.
If some amount of his crazy brain's involved, I'll probably be there just if curiosity's sake, if nothing else.
I will say though, I am not like a member of the cult of Kojima. For example, I can absolutely look at the shit he's done in the past and go, that shit could be cut by a third and still get the same amount of information off.
And anyway, in a quote from Russell, the new division will be tasked with working with creative and talented professionals in television, music, and film, as well as the more familiar games industry. So it's kind of an interesting leeway because Kojima Productions is still a thing and it's still a game development studio. So this is a division of the studio that's kind of integrated with it. So I don't know if they're going to be making like in-house music for video games or just, I don't know.
That brings me to the question I have about this, David. I want to get your input on it, as well as anyone who might be watching this to know what they're thinking. Will this division be completely standalone? Like, is Kojima just going to produce music from people that he likes and try to do like an A24 or Blumhouse kind of film production studio house? Or is this going to be part of a combined media push? Like, for example, the example that I always give was when Dead Space first came out. They have the Dead Space game and the comic and the animated movie.
Anime, yeah. No, that's what this is. This is the launch of the Kojima metaverse, right? That's
God damn it! Stop! I fucking hate. I used to not have such a visceral reaction to metaverse, and then I started like hating it, and I didn't know why, what happened, but I think I had a premonition of the shit Facebook was about to do with their fucking rebrand, and that's still Facebook, by the way. I refuse to call it the Meta or whatever the fuck it is now.
Well, Facebook is still Facebook. The parent company is Meta, much like the parent company of Google is a company called Alphabet.
No, the parent company of Google is Google.
The parent company of Google is Alphabet.
No, it's all Google. It's all Google.
Okay. Despite your inability to grasp simple concepts, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next story, which is something that I am both excited and terrified about, and we'll get into it. In a press release from Epic Games, Harmonix joins Epic Games to create immersive music experiences. Um, Harmonix today, in a quote, today we are delighted to welcome Harmonix to Epic Games. Harmonix is one of the world's leading independent game development studios, best known for creating the Rock Band and Dance Central franchises. Fun fact, if you go all the way back, the team of Harmonix actually put together those Guitar Hero games, and they decided that Activision was kind of fucking those up, and they broke off to make their own better version, which was Rock Band, and then Guitar Hero had to play catch up to the very superior video game.
Also created Amplitude and Frequency, I believe.
Frequency and Amplitude, two of my very, very favorite video games. Flippin' love those games. Harmonix has a track record of creating fun and engaging music experiences designed for everyone to enjoy. As we work to build the metaverse,
God damn it, I hate this so much.
This expertise is needed to reimagine how music is experienced, created, and distributed. The Harmonix team will collaborate closely with Epic to develop musical journeys and gameplay for Fortnite while continuing to support existing titles, including Rock Band 4. That is the important part of this press release. I don't know if everyone is aware, but Rock Band 4, yes, that one that came out with the plastic instruments all those many years ago, is still, to this day, getting weekly content.
Yeah, it's amazing that game is still supported.
Songs. Yeah, they have been pumping stuff out. And so Harmonix has been a team that's released a couple of games in the post-Rock Band era, as I'm calling it, the post-everybody's living room is filled with plastic crap era. And they've been struggling. They haven't been doing well. No. A lot of their stuff hasn't been selling. And I was really worried about Harmonix folding because, I thought Rock Band was rad. I like Amplitude, I like Frequency, I like a lot of the stuff they've done. I don't want that team to go away. So them getting scooped up by Epic is a hopeful thing, right? That means they can still get funding, they can still work on things. My worry is that Epic is just going to point them and say, okay, now you just make shit for Fortnite.
And that's straight up what they said, too. Harmonix team will collaborate closely with Epic to develop musical journeys and gameplay for Fortnite.
Yeah.
Sorry, David.
That will probably be their main focus. My hope is that after dealing with the Fortnite of it all for, I don't know, a year, 2, 3, whatever, that they get a little bit of leeway and Epic allows them to kind of pursue their own stuff. That would be very exciting to me.
Maybe, but to me this reads like Harmonix is 100% just a Fortnite support studio evermore, and they'll have a skeleton crew occasionally cranking out new DLC for Rock Band 4. Rock Band 4 can't be making them too much money anymore either, because I remember when the Guitar Hero Rock Band craze first came out that everyone bought it, and then everyone tried to abandon those plastic instruments. I worked in a video game retour store all the time, and they got to the point where I was turning people away, saying, we are not taking these anymore. And
now, if you go try and buy one on the internet, it's going to cost you hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I kind of wish I bought all that shit for like $10 and kept it in my closet for 10 years, because I'd be tens of thousands of dollars with how much shit I was exposed to.
Yes.
But no one's making that stuff anymore either, really. So there's it's not really a base that can grow. So they can't, I can't see it.
Well, because keep in mind that Harmonix partnered with Mad Catz to make all those peripherals, and Mad Catz folded. Yeah. And yes, I know that there's technically a Mad Catz you can Google now, but it's not Mad Catz. Yeah, the brand was purchased by another company. They're not the same people anymore.
So I am happy that Harmonix will continue to live on, but I am not too optimistic that they will go beyond anything else other than being a Fortnite support team.
Yeah, we'll see.
They might be what they might do. You know what I can see that happen is, how Fortnite keeps doing those virtual concerts. What they might do is they might try to incorporate some kind of gameplay mechanic into watching these virtual concerts.
Maybe.
That's kind of what I see them doing. We do have one question for chat. It's kind of apropos of nothing, but I want to address it real quick. The question is, do you think that there will be a DLC overhaul for the Spider-Man game once the new Spider-Man movie comes out? I am imagining that you're referring to the Miles Morales PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 game, 4 and 5 game that came out was it earlier this year or late last year? Anyway, it's been about
late last year. It came out around the time the PS5 came out. I think it was December.
I doubt it. That game is already a year old. You have Spider-Man 2 kind of being hinted and teased at right now from Insomniac. If there is any Spider-Man DLC tie-in to the Far From Home movie, or No Way Home movie rather, it will be coming from Marvel's The Avengers. That game, that just released the Spider-Man DLC.
I guess it might, huh?
That
I was like,
can see.
I wouldn't actually put it past Insomniac because there was so much stuff that was added to the first Spider-Man game, and I don't know exactly how much extra content
Insomniac's
Miles
call.
Morales.
It would be Sony's call to do it.
Yeah, that's fair.
They might have like an extra costume DLC. I doubt it, but if there were to be any
if it was
DLC
anything,
costumes,
I think it would be
Marvel's
something.
Avengers.
It would be something simple. It wouldn't be anything elaborate. Like maybe you get a copy of the new movie costume from like all your costume selections or something like that.
Yeah, but my gut actually says no. There's just not going to be any of that. Because
I would imagine it would be in the next Spider-Man game, though.
Yeah, they'll definitely have it in the next Spider-Man game, for sure. Because the PlayStation or Spider-Man, Insomniac Spider-Man, had multiple costume suits you can change, which was awesome. Actually, they had like the animated series Spider-Man. They had like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, the Back in Black Spider-Man, the Noir Spider-Man. They had all these cool costumes throughout Spider-Man's history you can wear. So I wouldn't be surprised if some costume this gets worked in there. But my gut says no. You might see in Spider-Man 2 though.
There you go.
We got 2 more news stories that I'm going to get through today. It might be a short day today, depending on how deep we're going to get into these. We'll see. First up, via the Wall Street Journal. This is touching on a story we've been mentioning for about 6 weeks now, give or take, maybe even longer. Headline is Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick tells colleagues he would consider leaving if he can't quickly fix problems. Via the Wall Street Journal, of course, link will be provided down below, as all links are in the descriptor down there. Chief Executive Bobby Kotick has told senior managers he would consider leaving the company if he can't quickly fix the culture's problems at the video game giant, according to people who are familiar with its comments. Mr. Kotick, who has led Activision for 3 decades, stopped short of saying he would step down in a Friday meeting with executives of the company's Blizzard Entertainment unit, but left the possibility open if misconduct issues across the company weren't fixed, quote, with speed, end quote, these people said. Mr. Kotick's facing criticism of the Activision employees, investors, and business partners over how he and the company have handled allegations of sexual misconduct. Some employees investigators have called him in to resign in the wake of a Wall Street Journal investigation into his handling of sexual misconduct allegations and multiple regulatory probes into the company's culture. A company spokeswoman did not respond to requests for comment. David. Seems like Mr. Kotick is at least saying, hey, if things don't get fixed, then I'll leave.
He's not saying anything, bro.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to.
He is not saying anything. He's saying, guess what? I'm staying, get fucked. Because how exactly, tell me, pray, how do you quickly fix a systemic culture problem? What does that look like?
Well,
what is this short time frame in which you can fix something that has been rampant, not just in your company, but in the entire industry for fucking decades? What does that mean?
Have you heard about the as an aside, I can't even think about it without laughing. It's fucked up, and I can't believe someone would do this in a business sense. But there was apparently someone at Activision Blizzard who, for years, you know, like when you write an email, you can have like the signature at the bottom, and you just put down like your name and phone number and everything like that. This guy would put his name down there, and then 1-800-ALL-DICK. Like that was his phone number.
Yeah,
For
I don't
years he had that as his email signature. It'd be like
no one just sent that shit to HR or did anything about it.
I can't remember his name. Let's just call him Brian John or something like that. But it'd be like thank you Brian John 1-800-ALL-DICK. For years, that man, I'm sorry, not All-Dick, All-Cock, which somehow is even worse.
Same difference. Still, yeah.
So
how do you take that, which has persisted for years and years and years, and quickly fix it?
Yeah. That's the point that I'm getting at. Now, first of all, how can you... I would laugh if I saw that, sure. But I would not fucking put that as a signature on a business email, let alone have it go out for years. And this is what Kotick is promising to fix quickly.
Yeah, he's not doing anything. He's not planning on going anywhere. The only way he's going is if the board boots him, and the board's all his old frat buddies anyway, so nothing's happening.
Yeah, the board...
Even though at this point... Well, we had talked about this briefly a few weeks ago, that there was that petition going around for his resignation, and it was a very insubstantial amount of the total Activision employees. It's now over 20%, which is not the 1% tiny chunk it was when we first talked about it. Like,
Correct.
There is a fifth of Activision which I think is a pretty decent amount of people saying this guy needs to fuck off.
He's not going to though, unless unless the employees there. It's easy to sign something.
I mean, potentially, when you're doing it anonymously, but they're putting their names on it. They're saying it. There's also been more people stepping down and leaving the company. It's a fucking joke.
Bobby Kotick will have to be dragged out of that company kicking and screaming. And the only way that's going to happen is if their stock drops down to like $30 a share, which still means it has to drop another 50% on top.
Bobby Kotick's just an overpaid piece of shit, and he's going to continue in this industry.
Yeah, there is no way he is going to be forced to step down. And if he does, let's say for some reason he chooses to step down as CEO, he will still be there as chairman or advisory commission, and he will still be the person running Activision. Let's be 100%.
And he'll still be getting, 7-figure bonuses or 8-figure or 9-figure bonuses. Who knows? He makes shit tons of money.
He owns a good chunk of Activision too. I think I heard someone saying he owns like 20% of the company. I don't think that's true. He owns like 4 million shares though. I had this number popped up. How much of Activision Bobby Kotick owned? There we go. He owns 4.3 million Activision Blizzard shares, which is roughly 0.56% of the company, which I know that doesn't sound too much on its face, but that makes him the single largest individual shareholder of the company.
Yeah, and that's a lot of money. Even though their stock price has been bleeding heavily over the last several months.
Well, let's
a bunch of money.
Let's take a look here. It's 4.3 million times. I think it's going for
$50.
Is it $50 right now?
It's down to like $50. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just say $50. That's 40 times 5, $200 million in Activision, $250 million in Activision stock.
Anyway, lots of money.
It's a lot. That's just an Activision stock alone. He has enough sway to make the board go whatever direction he wants. So he is not leaving Activision. He's just not. To people who think he's leaving Activision, half that company would have to leave overnight for him to leave Activision.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's nowhere for them to go. There's not really necessarily that option of, well, we don't like it here, so we can just leave. Because I don't think anyone's looking to hire 6,000 game company employees. Right? Or wait, they have like 10,000 people, right? There's a lot of
people at Activision. Yeah, it's
I don't want to look it up. I want to move on. This guy pisses me off.
So yeah, Bobby Kotick comes out, says he'll leave if problems aren't fixed, quote, with speed. But as both you and I kind of talked about ad nauseum there, these problems have been going on for years. Just nothing sells it more how long these problems are going, other than that 1-800-AWCOCK thing, where that dude had that signature for years, literally years, and just no one said anything about it. Or if they did, it went unchanged.
Yep.
David, we have one final news story that you can take here real quick, and this is one of those things where we like to kick a horse when they're down.
This horse has been down a while, but we'll keep talking about it. Via IGN, CD Projekt Red is scaling back Cyberpunk 2077 support to work on an expansion. CD Projekt Red has been gradually shifting to new projects while continuing to support Cyberpunk 2077, the very poorly released game from a bit over a year ago. Or I think they just hit a year, somewhere around there. The studio is also allocating more resources to work on the game's expansion. In CD Projekt Red's Q3 earnings report, it shows that the majority of the company was still supporting Cyberpunk 2077 up until the end of September this year. Now CD Projekt is focused on the Cyberpunk impending expansion, along with Gwent-related projects and projects involving Spoko, another studio under the CD Projekt umbrella. One thing not mentioned in this article, but I did read that finally, the next-gen enhanced versions of this are supposed to be coming Q1 of 2022, and if you do own a last-gen version of this game, it's going to be a free upgrade, so that's like a little bit of good news on top, but I don't know. That this is a game that came out in early access that people paid full price for, and it's been a year, and it's never going to be what was originally promised, but I don't know, it kind of had feature creep. It's funny because I don't know if you've looked at this game in a while, but it's actually getting decent reviews on Steam again. with the price drop with the Steam sale.
I need to sit down and play it on its 1 year anniversary just to see how far it's come along. But like I've gone on before, you could fix every bug
It's
in
the
there.
same video game, just less broken.
Yeah, you could fix every bug in that game, and it's still not going to be what the originally was promised.
Yeah, the problem really is that I think that they were promising stuff while it was still on the whiteboard, and then when they actually tried to make the video game, like it was almost a problem of too much transparency. This is like the nice version of the story, right? If you want to stay positive, is that they were really excited while they were making this game, and they were telling everybody all of the ideas they had, and then when they went to implement them, they realized that they just weren't fucking possible. But they had already said it out loud, and so they just didn't say anything until the game came out.
We did hear things about like scope creep when Keanu Reeves was brought on board, and all of a sudden Johnny Silverhand became a much more prominent role, and they had to redesign parts of the game around him being in there and all that.
Yeah, because it was a little side character, but then you get famous McFamous guy as him. Then yeah, you're gonna use him. Why not?
So
there's also the old. You could use the arm claws to climb up walls and stuff, but then they realized that really messed with level design, so that's why they pulled that feature. But it's still something that's not in the game, so people are mad about it. Even though if it was in the game, it'd be broken, because if you can climb to the top buildings, there's nothing to do up there.
Then they shouldn't have. Well, we can sing about the sins of Cyberpunk all day long and still not be able to cover them all. The important
ad nauseum. Feel free to look at some of our old Cyberpunk episodes if you want to hear
important takeaway from this, Sir David, is that CD Projekt Red is essentially winding down their improvements on Cyberpunk. So what I read into this is that what you have is what you got.
Yep, that is the game. They will continue with, I'm sure, bug supports and fixes and a new expansion.
I hope to God that whatever they announce next, and once they're done with the expansions, I can only imagine they're going to go back to The Witcher 4 for some goodwill real quick. I just hope that everyone who has watched this show today or in the past realizes that Cyberpunk 2077 is no longer an exception. It is no longer an outlier. Based on how we opened the show up with Grand Theft Auto, Battlefield 2042, Halo Infinite's weird battle pass fuckery, and all that combined, this is the norm for AAA video games now.
I've legitimately seen people calling Battlefield 2077.
It's kind of funny.
Right.
But think about it.
But it sums it up. It's been over a year. Same stuff's happening.
And if you want to be really cynical about it, this shit's been happening for years before now. But now it's just so prevalent everywhere.
Everyone has subscribed to the Bethesda strategy of releasing video games.
Yes. Ship it now,
except
patch it later.
The problem is that a Bethesda video game is outrageously huge.
You could almost forgive it.
Because it's almost too much for them to test, right? Like, you can play 3,000 hours of Skyrim and still not see everything.
I can expect a little bit of jank in a Bethesda game of size of Skyrim because of its scale, and at the end of the day, it is still a competently made game that I can have a lot of fun in. We have not
Besides the fact when the saves would delete themselves or get too big and you couldn't play it anymore. Like, there was big problems with that game too.
Yes.
And it's kind of rose-tinted glasses on it. But
You're right. You're absolutely right on that. There are some rose-tinted glasses on that.
But it's just it's a bigger video game, I feel, than some of this stuff is. I don't know.
But at that time, that was just us going, oh, that's just Bethesda. It's like, oh, that's just silly old Uncle Tom. He does his own thing, but he's a good guy at heart. Now
everybody realized that people still bought Bethesda games, so why don't we just do that?
Now everyone does this. Cyberpunk is not the exception. It's the fucking rule now.
Just play indie games.
So,
or games that already say early access.
Yeah.
Because at least you know what you're getting.
At this point, and I want to stress this, I know this is one of our tenets on the show is don't pre-order things, but as we get ready to enter 2022, specifically that first quarter of 2022 when everything is fucking front-loaded and we're going to have the glut of releases just pour out upon us.
Yep, all the stuff we're not getting now, we get then.
Realize that this shit is more than likely going to be broken than good.
Yeah.
So just wait 2, 3, 4 months. Or not at all. Like, I almost bought Battlefield, and I was like, you know what? I can wait a week. I'm glad I did. I almost bought Call of Duty, and you went, you know what? I can wait a week. And then I heard how lackluster the campaigns went. I'm glad I didn't. I almost bought that GTA collection because I wanted to go back to Vice City because I saw those bullshit screenshots of Vice City at night with the neon and the rain. I was like, man, that looks great. But you know what? I have been burned way too many times. And I will say this about Cyberpunk. It did one thing that Anthem didn't, that No Man's Sky didn't, that Fallout 4 didn't. It hammered home to me that even the great, because I had such high regard for CD Projekt Red, it hammered home that even the top now will produce broken.
And what's funny is
shit.
that being even with that, dude, Witcher 3 was fucking broken when it came out.
But
like that
it definitely had its issues. But I didn't
think for this whole time. Like, yes, Cyberpunk is way worse than the release of Witcher 3.
It's a scale of magnitude worse. That's the problem.
Yes, but I mean, like, even like this Golden Boy game that we're talking about, an example from this same company, it wasn't perfect.
I mean, you can find thousands of videos of like the horse on roofs or just floating in the air, or Garrett like pulling out his sword and then he melts into the background or something like that. Sure. But it was never fundamentally broken on such a level that Cyberpunk was. But Cyberpunk, that's just the newest baby that we're kicking. There was Anthem before that. There was Mass Effect Andromeda before that. There was Assassin's Creed Unity before that.
Man, I can't wait for Dragon Age to come out, so we got a new video game to talk about all the
time. To tie this all together, my point of this all is, if this 1 year has shown you anything, it is that AAA only means the size of the budget spent on it. It is no longer a guarantee of quality. So fucking hold your money back, see some people playing it first, find out how the servers are, see if it's worth a damn, and then buy it. Because
the only thing that AAA in front of the game tells you is how much the CEO makes. That's about it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Which really makes me kind of curious what fucking quintuple A means now. Because what was the game that said we're going to make our first 4A gaming experience? Do you remember that?
I don't know.
Oh, there was a game that labeled itself quintuple A. Or quadruple A, sorry. Not quintuple, quadruple.
Dude, screw it. Go for septuple A. I don't give a shit. It's going to be broken at launch.
I want to see a company come and go, this is a C game.
Yeah.
And like THQ Nordic has that shit covered. They're like, yeah. There you go. Have Biomutant. It's clearly made from subpar stuff, but you know what? I had more fun with Biomutant than I did Cyberpunk. I can tell you that.
This game will be rated 5 to a 7, and you'll have fun with it, and it works. Good enough for me, man. All my favorite games are 5 to 7s.
David, with any luck, 2022 is going to bring us some good news as far as game goes, because despite that rant, I still have faith that Guerrilla's going to deliver on Horizon Forbidden West. I still have faith that Santa Monica is going to deliver an amazing God of War, but that's not going to be for at least another 3 to 9 months, depending on which one I'm talking about here.
True.
As we've established, I need a steady supply of video games to keep from getting terminally bored. So what can I keep myself occupied with this week?
All right, we do have some new releases. It is a lighter week as it happens because, it's the end of November. Probably not going to be a whole lot coming out. And first up on the list, we have MXGP 2021. Hits the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC. This is a motocross sim sports racing video game. The official MXGP video game is ready to show you what it's made of. If you like dirt bikes and ATVs, you'll play this video game. That's how that goes. Fight Night is also up this week for PC. Unfortunately, it is not EA's Fight Night because I'm still waiting for them to make a new one of those. This is a first-person RPG adventure brawler. So you know the first-person dungeon games? Like,
yes. Legend of Gridlock is always the one that comes to mind.
Perfect. That's the one I always forget the name of. A grid-based dungeon crawler meets action-packed real-time enemy encounters. Fight your way through puzzling enemies to save those trapped in towers eternal night. It is a 3D game, 2D sprites. Think like Dusk, but with punching and a lighter tone.
I might actually have to get that now that I hear it that
Looks
way.
Pretty cool.
By the way, David, real quick, Rock Bogard in chat says it was the initiative from Microsoft that was being described as a quintuple A studio, or quadruple A, sorry, not quintuple, quadruple A studio. Thank you very much, Rock Bogard, for tracking that down. I just remember they're talking about it, the initiative being the team that is working on Perfect Dark and has yet to produce a single goddamn thing.
So when that game comes out, I need to hear that it had $1 billion budget.
Oh,
Has there been a $1 billion video game yet? Because if it's
Star
quadruple
Citizen's
A,
getting up there. I think that broke 400 million recently.
I need it to be a real video game, Steven. You
Uh,
can't come at me with made up bullshit that's never coming out. Um,
yeah, I
when
might
there's
as
a
well have, I
real
might as well
video
have
game
just
that
said like
releases
a
to the public that has a $1 billion
Smash Dishes
budget,
52 or something like that. It's the same game. The reason why, by the way, the initiative got some shit for being a quadruple A studio is because they recently outsourced to Crystal Dynamics, and people
Oh,
are going,
fun.
"Wait a minute! If this is a quadruple A studio, why the fuck are they
Are they
getting
outs-
support from the outside studio about it?" That's why that's in the old noggin there.
That's funny. Next up on the list, Oddworld Soulstorm Enhanced Edition is on the PlayStations, the Xbox, and PC. It's Oddworld. You've heard of Oddworld, right? You play as Abe, this weird green alien-looking dude that's I don't know, running around in a side-scrolling action-adventure platformer that people like. Some people don't like. It is very much a try it and see if it's your kind of flavor video game. One thing that pisses me off in the description of this video game is it calls itself 2.9D.
I don't like that. That's some Kingdom Hearts shit.
That's stupid. It is a side-scrolling video game set in a 3D world with 3D character models.
Really
There
don't
you go.
like that.
Mecha Jammer hits PC and Mac. Man, we never talk about Mac. Sci-fi tactical RPG.
This looks amazing.
Yeah, set on off-world grindhouse jungle colony. Skulk through the shadows or charge in guns blazing. Recruit a unique party for large squad to place assaults as your adventure plunges you deep into the city's secrets. This looks like a gritty 2D. I would call it Fallout, but it's Cyberpunk, so it's Shadowrun. So it's basically just Shadowrun.
Yeah, it looks like the old Fallout 1 and 2 or the old Fast and
Exactly.
Soft
I
Shadowrun
think
game if you played it on
I-
Super Nintendo.
Yeah, it looks like the old Fallout, old Shadowrun.
You know,
but
actually, what
released
this really reminds me of is a cross between Jagged Alliance and Syndicate.
now. I think it looks pretty cool.
And you've probably
honestly.
never played either one of those two games.
Hell no, I don't play video games.
Okay,
Let me
fair
think about
enough.
Solar Ash hits the PlayStations and PC. This is the second game from Heart Machine, the studio led by director Alex Preston, who made Hyper Light Drifter, which is a flippin' awesome video game if you never played it.
Looks
I really
just
Hyper Light
like it,
Drifter.
too.
Yeah, the art. This is one of the games that we had talked about during one of those indie jams from months and months ago. I've been kind of looking forward to it. I think this game looks rad. It's super stylish. Just take a look. Solar Ash. I think this game looks rad. It might not be for you. It's like, an action. I don't know if you wouldn't really call it a
This
platform.
falls
Maybe
into
just
that
action adventure game.
category of games that I'm sure will come across my emails one day, and I'll put it in the Steam library, and it'll sit for like 2 years, and then I'll finally give it a shot.
And you'll talk about how great it was.
Yeah.
Fun fact: published by Annapurna Interactive, who's published some bangers.
They
over
are the
years.
A24 of video games right now. They are the Bloomhouse of video games, where they produce these amazing indie titles.
Yeah, they're producing Stray. They produced Outer Wilds, Artful Escape, Unfinished Swan was them. If you want to go back in time, they did Flower, Journey. I mean,
I didn't know
obviously
they did Flower and Journey. Artful Escape, man. I have
They
a hard
didn't
time.
make them, to be fair, to
Yeah,
clarify.
they just
please.
published them.
Yeah,
I have a hard time recommending the Artful Escape because there's really no game there, but goddamn did I enjoy my time with that game.
There you go. Happy's Humble Burger Farm hits the PlayStations, Xbox, and PC. This game, I did not know what to think because it looked like you were just kind of managing a burger shop in a very kind of crappy looking video game. And then it turns out it's a first person horror game.
Yeah, that's why it's on here.
So you start as this dude managing a burgeria, and then nighttime happens and things get really creepy and trippy and weird, and it's a fast food fever dream. So I'll probably never play it. Let me know what you think of it, Steven, because I'm sure you will.
This might be on the list somewhere to play soon.
Yep. Chorus hits PlayStations, Xboxes, and PC.
I'm really
Action adventure
excited for
sci-fi
this.
game. Take control of Nara on a quest to destroy the dark cult that created her. Unlock devastating weapons and mind-bending abilities in an evolution of the space combat shooter. This game looks rad. We are both sci-fi space shooting fans. I think this is I don't know. Where do you go back to? Like Free Space?
Oh, for me, all the way back to before that, Wing Commander, MS-DOS.
Cool. So we both like space shooting games. This is a space combat game with a story, which is kind of funny because it's Everspace 2, but they beat them to release because Everspace 2 has been in early access for a while. They're still working on that game. Chorus just kind of showed up, and the game's coming out. So, I mean, let's be real, I'll play both, but this game looks rad.
Yeah, I remember seeing trailers for this, and it was getting a lot of play during like the Xbox Series XS releases, and I was like, this looks like a This looks like a Colony Wars with an H.R. Geiger skin on it, and I'm down for that. It has since changed a little bit since then, but I'm still excited to play it.
Yeah, I think it just looks like another Everspace game, and I love Everspace, so there you go. And Danganronpa Decadence hits Switch this week. This is a visual novel from, everyone's beloved Suda51, right?
No, this is not Suda51. This is...
I thought he did Danganronpa.
No, Spike Chunsoft published... I can't publish this. The guy who did this is... I don't remember his name. Forgive me.
I really thought, all right, that's my bad. You guys can yell at me later. I'm not going to get too much trouble. Cause...
I have to look this guy up now, though. He is a no name. Danganronpa.
Indulge in a decade of despair with 4 games in 1. Danganronpa Decadence contains the 3 main titles in the legendary franchise. And yeah, there's 3 of them. And they're crazy.
Kazutaka Kodaka is his name.
Thanks. They are a visual novel. It's basically Battle Royale, right? People, I can just say that. I don't have to describe what a Battle Royale is anymore. There's a whole video game about it. Everybody's trying to kill people.
I could care less about the 4th game, this new Danganronpa. What's important is this first 3 Danganronpas, because if you like games like the 999 or Virtue's Last Reward, that Nonary series, this is in that same vein, or Ace Attorney, for example. This is in that same vein where it's a murderous bear that pits students against each other and forces them to accuse each other, murder, and kill each other simultaneously. And then if you're found guilty, he executes you in the most imaginative ways.
Yep. This has the first 3 games and a brand new title called Danganronpa S Ultimate Summer Camp, a board game style bonus game with all new scenes and interactions for your favorite characters.
Danganronpa Mario Party.
Celebrate the 10th anniversary of Danganronpa with this exclusive Nintendo Switch 4-in-1 bundle.
And Rock Bogard, you are correct. Chorus is Corv's if you look at the branding for that logo. Yeah, and that's 100%. What I thought it was actually, for the longest time.
When we saw this on the Xbox thing, we thought it was Corv's because the name of this game makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, that's clearly a V.
For sure. David, that does it for new releases, which means that does it for the show as well. This has been GamePoints episode 287, and thank you all for showing up. We do stream every Tuesday, almost without exception, barring holidays, right here at Twitch TV/GamePoints at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can watch old shows over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC, or they also get posted in the Discord server link provided down below. If you want to be part of the GamePoints community, you can join that Discord server. You can follow GamePoints on Twitter at GamePointsPC, myself at CapitalistPig21, or David there at _Satori on Twitter. I'll be playing some more Hearts of Iron throughout the week as we have that new expansion that came back home as we restore a monarchist Russia to become the Third Rome. And if you know what the Third Rome is, then you're a history nerd and you should probably come by and take a look at it. And then if Chorus happens to release on Thursday night, we'll be playing that. Otherwise, we'll be playing that come Monday of next week. The Game Awards, of course, will be streamed that Thursday night, one more week in a couple days from now. And we will also be back next week with this show of other gaming news and our predictions for what might be shown at the Game Awards. Not necessarily who's going to win, because let's face it, not only do none of you care about who wins Game of the Year, but the Game Awards really don't care who wins Game of the Year either. It's more of just a mini E3 at this point.
Man, I hope the Chick Hydrobot's there.
I will always respect Jeff Keighley for one thing. I remember years ago, I was
the hustle? I feel like it's the hustle.
It is the hustle, but I was trolling him on Twitter, and he announced his Game Awards. It was like 2015 or something like that, and I commented on it. Jeff, I respect what you're doing, but the Dorito Pope memes will never not be funny. And he liked it and then retweeted it. So he has a sense of humor about his past, and I appreciate a man who understands self-parody.
Good deal.
So I will be streaming that. I'm actually looking forward to it. I appreciate Jeff Keighley. I think he's a greater good for the industry than a bad, despite my other concerns about the shows as well. So we'll definitely be co-streaming that next week. Anyways, that's that. Thank you all for showing up. Stay safe. Take care. Until next time, we're out of here.